Welcome to the sixth in our Quadcopter Building for Beginners Series 2. Now in the other videos what we've done is we've taken this kit and we've pretty much built it so that we're almost ready to go and fly. But there's a couple of extra things that we need to do, mostly around setting up the software and all of the settings so that this little guy can be taken out for a test hover. We also need to test that I haven't done anything really stupid, putting all of the ESCs into the motors and all of the cabling that goes around too, because there is so much customization and direct soldering, there is a chance that I have done something wrong. Now what I'd recommend at this stage in the video, if you're following along, is stop and make sure that every cable is going where you think it should. Go through them one by one, make sure that the power cables are in the right places in the ESC bits and bobs, that the ESCs are nicely connected, that there's nothing loose, that the solder joints look okay, that the signal cables are in the signal cable holes, ground go to ground, that the plus and 5 volts from the power distribution board are the right way round. Just triple check everything, because what we're going to do in this video is we're going to not only configure it, we're also going to apply main battery power for the first time too. Now I'm just going to power it off a little 3-cell 1 ampere hour battery, nothing particularly big, because at the moment I just want to make sure that we're all going to fire up. Now through this entire process we still haven't installed the props, and for safety purposes we're not going to do that until we're happy all of the motors are good and they're going to run. So in this video there's a couple of things that we're going to do. First of all, we're going to connect it to the computer using the USB port at the back, and we're going to flash it with Betaflight. Now we looked at downloading Betaflight earlier in the series, and we're going to use Betaflight because there's just been a brand new version and I'm really interested to see how that performs. And actually Betaflight for something like this out and out little racing frame is probably a better choice at the moment with some of the features in there. While we've got that flashed, we'll also do things like set up S-Bus, so then we can go on and test the receiver and use things like endpoints and subtrims on the radio to get all the middle channel values exactly at 1500, and also make sure that the travel on all of the channels goes down to 1000 and up to 2000 but not over, because that just confuses everybody. We'll also make sure things like the failsafe is set up, and we'll also quickly set up the modes to be the same as what we did in the radio on the last video. Then, once we've done all that, then we'll calibrate the ESCs, we'll check that the motors are actually running. We're going to have to just be a little bit careful here. Like I said, this is a very, very customized frame, and we've had to cut these leads very short. I've tried my very best to make sure that the soldering is going to be up to snuff, but we need to test it and make sure each of those are running. Once we've done all that, then we'll probably find a couple of these motors are going to be turning the wrong way, because they've all just been connected to the ESCs in whichever way I could physically make them do it. Because 2 of these motors potentially are going to be turning the wrong way, we're going to have to use the BL heli to then go in and reverse the 2 that are moving the wrong way round. Once we've done that, then I'm going to very quickly pop the top on temporarily, pop the receiver on it, and we'll go out into the garden and we'll do a very quick test hover, make sure it's all working. So in the next video what we can do is pop the top on and then set up all the FPV equipment, and then we've pretty much got the frame finished, apart from any little changes we might want to make in future videos. So first of all, let's go onto the computer and flash Betaflight onto this little thing. So here on the PC, it's time for us to flash the board with Betaflight. Now this again is the first time that we've plugged the board in to a PC and done anything with it since we started a couple of videos ago, just testing that it actually worked. So we don't know what's going to happen. This is all part of the fun of building one of these little models. So I'm going to plug the board back into the computer with the USB cable through the port at the back. That is promising. The lights have come on, no smoke has come out, so we're going to not click on connect to have a look at things. We're going to click on firmware flasher. Now in here, what you do is you click the board you're interested in. Here's all the different ones. Ours is a Seriously Pro Racing F3, and we need to choose a firmware version for it. We're going to choose the latest and greatest. We need to, for these boards, the way it works, you just have to turn the manual board rate on, and then you should be good. So we'll click on Load Firmware Online. There it is, all new and wonderful. And now we're going to click on Flash Firmware. So at the moment the blue light is on the board, everything else is off, it's just sat there waiting. The fact it's saying flashing means that we've got all the setup right in terms of the manual board and stuff. I had problems with a lot of these boards in the early days, kept forgetting to click that manual board bit. Okay, now it's going to reboot. The blue light is solid and the red light has just flashed, so that's good. So we're going to click connect. There we are. So we're running Betaflight. Now there's a couple of things that we need to do in here before we go any further, just to make sure that the board is completely happy. The first thing I would do is calibrate the accelerometer. So I'm just going to make sure the board is level and click on that. There we go, that's going to help. We're going to jump into ports. Now we are going to need to set this up for S-Bus, so I'm going to have to turn on the serial receiver bits and pieces for UART3. I'm going to click save and reboot. We're going to then go into configuration. That's how hopefully we've got our motor set up. We will be checking. One shot 125 is the motor ESC protocol. That's what's on the ESCs that we have. We'll leave everything else as default for the moment. We're going to select that we have a serial receiver and it is S-Bus. We'll click save and reboot again. And hopefully we'll go back into ports. That's still set. Super. Configuration. S-Bus is still set, that's really good. VBAT's turned on at the moment, we can turn that off. We haven't connected those VBAT wires up, so that's fine. Everything else looks good. Black box is the only other thing that's turned on because we do actually have data flash. Now I'm going to enable expert mode that will give us a couple of extra things here down the side that will be useful to do. So I'm happy with that. Click save and reboot before we come off that screen. We're going to connect up failsafe as well. So what this is really all about, and if you don't know what failsafe is all about, go and watch this video here, which kind of explains it in a little bit more detail. At the moment we're going to want to keep everything as it is. It's going to work fine as it's set. So the way it works is that if there's a problem, the signal disappears from the receiver, then it's going to wait about a second, and then if nothing happens, then it's basically going to drop out the sky. The failsafe settings in Betaflight are what I would pretty much set anyway. We're not going to bother with PID tuning, we're not going to bother with the receiver until we've powered up the receiver, because at the moment it won't work. The receiver isn't powered by the USB cable we're using to talk to the flight controller. We're going to set up modes in here. Now we need to add a couple of modes. So auxiliary 1 is probably the one we're going to have. So about there is going to be that bottom switch position. Horizon's going to be there. Air mode I'm going to have for the top two. I'll click on save. So now let's just go through it again. Yeah, that looks good. Ports are fine. Configuration looks good. Failsafe is set. Receiver will come back and do in a minute when we actually turn on the receiver and power it via the battery. And then modes looks good too. Fantastic. Okay, so even though the board had a barometer on the back, interestingly it's not showing as one of the more sophisticated boards, but for what we're using it here for, that doesn't matter anyway. The magnetometer on the flight controller wouldn't be very happy with all those big power wires running high current straight behind it. Okay, that's fantastic. So now we've got all that basic setup done, we're in a position where we can actually have a crack here at doing some of the more sophisticated stuff. Next thing we're going to do is make sure that the radio receiver is working. So I'm going to need my radio, I'm going to need to power that on. Pop that over there. And we're going to plug in the USB cable into the computer. There's lots of cables all over the place at the moment. Here we go, and we're going to click on connect. So there's the flight controller all moving, and it is feeling level. Fabulous. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do then is we're actually going to apply main battery power. Now this is always a slightly dangerous point here, because applying main battery power is needed to power the receiver because there's no lights on it, but when we do that there's potential that there could be a problem. This is why at the end of the power video I said just plug it in and make sure no magic smoke comes out, because you don't want it happening at this point. So there we go, we're now powered up. So what we're going to do is go into receiver. What's happening here is this thing in the lower right hand corner is whizzing around because everything's in the wrong position. So roll is throttle and vice versa. So we're going to have to change this around. So let's just do it to Futaba High Tech Save. Is that any better? No, roll is still the same. JR Spectrum Save. That's better. So throttle is going up and down. Rudder, yours is on the right one. Fantastic. Pitch is working, and so is roll. Now that's all sorted. This is one of the new things about Betaflight. It's very clever. What we need to check is that the limits on the travel on the sticks is okay. So if I go to the rudder left, it goes down to 987. We want it going down to above 1000. So in that servo menu, what we need to be doing is just decreasing the travel a little bit. On the other side of the travel, it's 1998, which is perfect. So we'll make each side about 97.5, and then the throttle travel goes to 1998 but goes down to 987 as well. The nice thing is at the moment you can see these values in the middle are pretty close to 1500. If any of these values aren't 1500, then what you're going to find is that unfortunately the aircraft will read that as a direction. So if you can use the sub-trim parts of that menu to actually change it. So that all looks really good. The only other thing I need to do is just jump into modes. So that now works perfectly and matches it. Great, okay, that's really good. So the motors, let's just see if these are going to run. So let me just move the radio out the way. We're going to try motor 4, which I think is this top first one. So that's motor 4 here on it. So we're just going to try and run it. Yes, I understand. The props are off. Let's run motor 4. Nothing at all. Oh dear. Motor 3 is this one back here. Motor 2 is running, that's promising, and then motor 1, which is this back one here, is running as well. So motor 4, we haven't got anything on. Okay, so what I'm going to have to do is stop the video and let's see what's going on with motor 4. So off camera what I've done is I've just taken the top board off and just checked that all of the connections look okay, and both the power connections to that ESC that wasn't happy and also the signal connections on the boards, all the soldering looks good and there doesn't appear to be any breaks in the wires. So the next thing I tried was just to calibrate the ESCs using the motors tab within Betaflight, and then after that 2 of the motors stopped working. Now this is something that's a little bit weird, but we have had something similar in the last build video where it was actually the version of BL Heli that was running on the ESCs that was causing part of the problem. So what we're going to do here is we're going to have a go at opening BL Heli and talking a little bit about that, and while we're in here we're going to flash these ESCs to see if it makes any difference. If it fixes it, great. If it doesn't, then we'll end up stopping the video here and going and doing a troubleshooting video next. So first of all, let me power up my model with a battery, because to do anything with the ESCs in BL Heli, you do need power applied. So I'm just going to plug it in. So there is the model powered up. I'm going to plug the USB cable into the computer. So there's COM3. Now to get BL Heli, you go to this web address and you can click on the download button and it'll take you to the links. I'll put that web address in the description, and then once you're running BL Heli Suite it looks like this. Now what you need to do in order to look at the ESCs through the flight controller and Betaflight is you need to select the Clean Flight bootloader, select COM3 because that's the COM port that it's appeared as, and say connect and then read setup. Okay, so the good news is all the signal cables definitely must be connected, otherwise it wouldn't see all 4 of the ESCs. So here are all of the ESCs Interesting. Okay, so what we're going to do then is BL Heli 14.4. Let's look at flashing BL Heli. There's another one 14.7, so a little bit later, but you know what, let's flash it, see if that helps. Do you want to flash ESC1? Yes. And we're just going to go through and we're just going to write all of these, just making sure that all cables are kind of working and that we can see everything, and then they're all on the same version and they've all got the same settings. At the moment we're just going to go for defaults because all we're interested in is really whether or not this is actually going to work okay. Okay, so there we are, we're now on the latest version for all of them. Let's just see how it all looks. See, some of them look like they calibrated, some of them doesn't. ESCA2. Okay, so we definitely look like we're going to have to do a calibration again because it doesn't look like it completely worked last time. Okay, so now we've done that, what we'll do is we'll go back and we'll retry a throttle calibration. So let's just disconnect from here. Okay, I'm just going to unplug the battery for the moment. I'm going to click connect. I'm going to go into motors. I'm going to say I understand. I'm going to go and slide the master to the top. We're going to plug in the motors. Okay, and then we're going to immediately take it to the bottom. That sounded so much better because all of them were cheeping away in concert. That's really promising. So I'm going to unplug the power again. So unplug the main flight battery. And then with the master at the bottom, I'm just going to plug it in. And this time we're going to slide the master slide up. And all the motors are now working. There we go, it was a BL Heli flash update thing again. This is the second build that we've done in a series where that's been a problem. I think the next time I might just do that by default. Now what I need to do is just check if any of these are going in the wrong direction. Motor 2 is, and it looks like motor 4 might be as well. So, just double check that. With them running, motor 4's okay, motor 2's the wrong way. Motor 3 needs changing, motor 1's okay. So motor 3 is wrong and motor 2. So it's these two motors here. So what I need to do is go back into BL Heli and change the direction. So what we're going to do here is we shall turn that off. So we're going to disconnect. We're going to then start BL Heli again. We're going to read the setup. Again, we still have the main battery plugged in. So what we need to do here now is just change on those two ESCs that correspond to those two motors, just change the direction from normal to reversed and then save that, and then we should be ready to install the props. Phew, nearly there. So now we've got that excitement out of the way, it means that this video is a little bit longer than I wanted it to be, but actually it's been handy to kind of show these problems because invariably something in the build goes wrong. It's very rare that you get to the end and everything is super smooth. So while I've been just changing everything over, I've obviously put the props on. I have balanced the props. You can see how close these things are going to the frame. You can understand why these little cutouts are done now. So we're going to have to be very careful with routing all of the pieces. So I've put those on. Remember that when you're popping the props on, you should always have the little letters at the top, and the props should be so that when they're turning in the direction of the motors, the higher leading edge is the one that goes around first. A couple of other things I've done is I've installed the little sticky pads. They're like little foam feet at the bottom of the kit. I've popped those on. To be fair though, when it's actually flying, these are not going to get anywhere near the ground because this is where the battery's going to sit. Now this kind of rubbery sticky pad is in the kit, so we stuck it on there, and we've also popped on the Velcro too so we can hold the battery underneath. I did have to lift the power distribution board very slightly because to make it all fit the cable had to go through there. The last thing I've done is I've just temporarily popped the top on here and connected up the X4R, making sure that none of the cables are going to go into the props for the test hover, and installs a little antenna holder so that, again, to make sure that the antennas don't drop into the props because they'll just get clipped. So the very last thing for us to try is make sure that this will hover and fly, and then if it does, then great, we can go on to our next video where we'll build out the top piece here and we'll put in the camera, video transmitter, and also mount the radio receiver properly. Thank you for taking the time to watch that video. There are lots of other videos on the channel and they're carefully ordered into playlists, so you may find that there are other videos on this same subject that you can go and watch. So I would recommend going into the playlist area of Painless 360 YouTube channel and looking around and seeing what there is. You never know what you might find. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, and happy flying.